Hey y'all, what up? Welcome to another video here on Anime Autistic. I'm your anime champion, and I want to talk about, a show that had some backing behind it. It had some interest. It definitely had my interest. I wanted to see how it went. I want to talk about Fire Force from last year, and just was it really any good? Last year, there was actually several anime that came out that were just, great. I would say Carol and Tuesday, Vinland Saga, A Promised Neverland, which was boss. Attack on Titan season 3 was great. Season 3 part 2. And then we had a great follow-up to Mob Psycho. I personally really enjoyed the One Punch Man season 2. I know a lot of people were kind of like, man, it was just all right. I enjoyed it a lot. That was my personal preference. And some other stuff as well came out. Oh, Demon Slayer. That one too. Everybody loves Demon Slayer. I personally thought that one was all right, but you know what? I'm not talking about that right now. I want to talk about Fire Force and how that went, because I enjoyed Soul Eater. I didn't read the manga, watched the anime. I know how the anime, the end of it is god awful, but up to like the last little bit of that, I really enjoyed it. Was really down for the ride. And when I learned that the creator of Soul Eater had another anime coming out, I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And if you want a quick answer on how I feel about it, was it any good? Was it just all right? Yeah, it was just okay. It's definitely worth watching. I totally enjoyed it. Thought it was fun. Was a good romp. Really, if I gotta be concise about it, I'd say, the reason I liked it was because the action was good. Once it got to those nice Sakuga scenes that were like, where the animation was real pretty, it was real pretty. The fights were good. The fights were definitely good, and the action in it, for the most part, was real good. It was nice. It looked good for those scenes, and so there are plenty other times where it looked good as well. So the deal with it is this. I was very excited from that opening scene, that first scene in the anime, that train station scene was bomb. I can't really think, and there might be a couple anime out there that I'm just not remembering well, but from the first scene I was like, whoa, that was great. Like, that was super impressive, and it is. That first scene is bananas good. I really like that very first scene from Fire Force. The rest of that episode was really good. The next episode was really good. But then after that, I felt like it kind of bumped. It was a little hit or miss on how are these episodes, getting turned out? How are they going to look? Because the animation, I felt, was kind of, it varied. It wasn't always consistent on having a great episode. At first, I would say maybe around episode 10 or so, it starts to even out and it becomes a little bit more consistent on, all right, cool, we can expect this. And it does get to a lot of good things. And I'm not going to say the animation was bad, because that would be completely incorrect. I've seen bad animation. Trust me. I've seen plenty of stuff that just does not, even compare to this. There's things that look kind of trashy out there. David Animation, they did a good job keeping the aesthetic, making it look good, making it look nice and clean. They obviously they know what they made JoJo's. They know what they're doing with like the coloring and everything like that. It looked nice, and it matches the show pretty well. There's a little bit of like that angstiness. There's a little bit of darkness to it. And they did that fine, but a lot of it's a little bit light, and it's mostly just meant to be fun. That's what this series is gonna be. It's mostly gonna be fun. When it gets to that action stuff, it's gonna look good. So if I'm gonna extrapolate this a little bit, and it's not gonna be a hell of a long episode, but to extrapolate a little bit, make this a little bit more detailed on what my thoughts personally were for it. Like I said, I thought it was fun. I'll start off with the pacing. The pacing is good. In those first 24 episodes that we got in this season, they went through 90 chapters in the manga. So I mean, that's good pace. That's a good pace to keep at. To be honest, I don't think they like rushed through anything. It doesn't feel that way at all. It doesn't feel like, oh, they're just going through this. Honestly, because I've looked at the manga, I would rather read the manga if they were doing like 2.5 chapters an episode, or maybe 2 chapters an episode. I would probably have just been like, I'm gonna read the manga. But since they're going at it at a real decent pace, I'm just gonna wait for season 2 and wait for that to end and kind of brush through it. This is a very easy to watch show, and I do appreciate that every once in a while. A good amount of stuff that I watch is a little heavy, it's a little heady as well, and it covers themes that kind of like, you know what, I want to digest this show. Like I said, it was just meant to be fun. There is some stuff there, there's not zero substance to it. That's super not true. There's plenty of stuff that is of consequence, and you can gain some stuff, and you can after you're done watching, you're like, all right, I appreciate watching that. There was some stuff that I felt like I was explored, that I experienced. I when I'm watching stuff in anime comedies, it could be stand-up, even YouTube videos and stuff, and then obviously movies and things like that, documentaries, etc. I want to feel like I'm watching it for experience. I want to feel like I definitely don't want to feel like I wasted my time. I'm like, did I come out of that a little bit more complete, or a little bit, with something added to me, through that, via that experience. Like I said, for the Sakuga, I got kind of pumped up. I was excited for a lot of the things that were happening, for, that opening scene later on, that first episode. That battle versus Sho was good. It felt a little bit stretched out, but it was nice. The only thing is that Joker fight, and I think it's like episode, I want to say 3 or 4. That one I was like, whoa, what happened? Whoa, what happened here? And honestly, that fight between the 3rd's captain and, the 8th's captain was alright, but when I was watching, I was kind of like, there was some, let's just say it gave me some Dragon Ball Z vibes, where I was like, oh, there's some stuff happening on screen, but a lot of it's the repeated stuff for certain scenes. But like I said, it doesn't look bad. I did find myself looking forward to the action. Like, Maki had a great point to shine, and she had one of probably my favorite fight of this season, and I'm interested to see where everything goes. I like where this season ended. I felt like it was a good place for it to end. Honestly, they could have slowed it down just a little bit, because they did cut out certain scenes in the manga, and I'm definitely not a fan of that. I don't think that, David Productions needed to do that, or they could have, had it be 25 episodes. It wouldn't have hurt anybody. They could have spaced it out, I guess is what I'm saying, but it's totally fine pacing. I think my big critique is it just heavily follows that shonen formula that at this point, if you're not big into it, or you're getting into anime, then it's good. You'll like it. You'll be like, yeah, okay, because it's got those elements there. And if you're like, I've only really watched Naruto, and I've only really watched like Bleach, I've only really watched like Dragon Ball Z, or something like that. If you're getting into anime and you're like, you don't know about all the other stuff, or you're just not tired of it, like I kind of am, you'll dig it, you'll enjoy it. But I'm just, for someone who's watched plenty of anime over the course of the last, I started watching anime and knew that I was watching anime at like 8 years old, and I was like, yeah, I like this a lot. And then as I got older, I was like, hells yes. Basically, as soon as I discovered Naruto, I was like, oh yeah, this is for me. This is definitely for me. And my love for it is just gone up. Why else would I have a YouTube channel dedicated to it? I would say that when looking at Soul Eater, I would say that's a little bit more unique, and honestly, probably better for a good amount of it. I don't know how long Fire Force is gonna be. It seems like it might go on a little bit longer, potentially. I'm not caught up in the manga. I know a couple of couple of spoilery things. Nothing really huge or major, though. But, and I definitely won't spoil anything. And I don't want to spoil anything too much about this season, in case you haven't watched it, in case you're like, you know, how does he feel? As a recommendation, I would kind of recommend it, but don't go into it expecting anything grand or, you know, really magical, something that's going to steal your heart, because I don't think that's going to happen for you, but it is fun if you just kind of like, you know, I don't know how to watch something kind of easy, something kind of chill. It's one of those, the science in it sucks, but it's not supposed to, it's not Dr. Stone, which, there's going to be some videos coming for Dr. Stone, trust me, y'all. Because, yeah, well, you know, look at the channel name. The autistic in me really likes Dr. Stone. Really likes it. I'm not certain everything that's going to come from this show, but I do feel like it's roughly up my alley. It's kind of a shallow version of up my alley. And when I look at the stuff that came out last year, I'm like, you know what, this one, it didn't have, I don't feel like it had a bunch of spotlight, and I'm not sure it deserved a bunch of spotlight either, because Mob was so good, and Vinland Saga is ramping up to, honestly, from what I've heard, to be better than this first season, which I'm excited about. But from this first season, I was like, oh, there's a lot of cool stuff here. Was not expecting the politics to play such a big role. But was surprised and happily surprised when it did, and then, you know, obviously there's some other stuff. Quick aside, the thing about like The Promised Neverland is like I can't tell people too much about it because it just immediately just kind of spoiled. Like, you can't spoil don't spoil, if you've watched it, don't spoil The Promised Neverland for other people. That's a real messed up thing to do. Don't do that. Because it could ruin their experience. Like, don't tell them things that are going to happen with it. But, all in all, that show's, like, so good. And so this one just kind of, like, and then Carol and Tuesday 2, which I thought was a masterpiece. Like, compared to all those shows, I was kind of like, this is kind of not super spectacular. It didn't pop. But when season 2 is going to come out, I'm going to watch it. I'm probably not going to watch them as they air, probably, because it's a bingeable show. I think, as far as like anime binges, this one's good. I don't usually just like over the course of a few days watch it, but this, like, I was watching it, took a break at like episode 10 or so, and then when I came back, I was like, oh, I dropped off at the point where like everything starts to become real steady. So I went through those next 14 episodes over the course of a couple days, and I was like, you know what? I am digging it. You know, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's a good ride. You know, I think you'll be able to tell if it's up your alley real quick. Give it maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and you'll know. Within the first episode, you know what kind of show you're gonna get. But I think you're like, it might trick you into watching more of it. I feel like I knew I was gonna enjoy it enough. My hopes were just a little high for it, but anyway, those were my thoughts on it. I didn't want to make a big old video there about the show. Just general opinion of it, and it's a general opinion. It's good enough. It's good enough. Nothing I would tell people they need to watch, but thank you guys for watching so much. You're great. Hit that like button if you appreciate anything I'm doing here. And subscribe for more content like this. My friends, my dudes. The world is magic. Even though we're in a scary place. High School of the Dead episode's coming up soon. Peace out. I'll see you guys on the next one.